Hello, welcome back to part 3. In part 3, we're going to do some sample questions just as you'll have to do them when you take your actual exam for the Chimney Safety Institute of America. When you take your exam, you will have 90 minutes to complete 30 questions. That's 3 minutes per question. That's a fair amount of time. Even if you think you know the answer, go ahead and look it up anyway. I think you'll be better served by looking up the answer to be sure. And 90 minutes is a generous amount of time to do 30 questions. So you should be in good shape. Okay, so let's start looking at some sample questions. Okay, question number 1 says, when no fire brick lining is used in a masonry firebox, the total minimum thickness of the back and side walls shall be at least blank inches of solid masonry. So, the first and most important thing to do when we're answering these questions and trying to find the answer is to identify the subject of the question. So, what's the subject? Okay, the subject is fire brick lining for fireplaces. Okay, so we may need to look either for fire brick lining or fireplace walls. Let's go to the index in our paper copy and look up fire brick lining. Okay, so I'm in the F's and I do not see fire brick lining, but I do have fireplaces, and under fireplaces there's 5 listings: clearance, corbelling, factory built, fire blocking, and walls. Okay, fireplace walls is what I want to know about, and it tells me that answer is in R 1001.5. So let's go to R 1001.5. R 1001.5, firebox walls. And it says, where a lining of fire brick not less than 2 inches thick or other approved lining is provided, the minimum thickness of back and side walls shall be 8 inches of solid masonry. But that's not quite what I want, because my question is no fire brick lining. So if I read on to the next sentence, it says, where a lining is not provided, the total minimum thickness of back and side walls shall be 10 inches of solid masonry. Okay, so there I think is where we need to be. That's our answer. So the correct answer is 10 inches. We found it fairly quickly using the index in the printed paper copy. Let's now slide over and look at the electronic copy or the digital copy and see how we might do the same thing. Okay? In the digital copy, first thing I need to do is click on the magnifying glass or the search bar. Okay? And the last thing I typed in shows up. I want to look up fire brick lining. So let's type that in, fire brick lining, and see what happens. Click next. Keep in mind, we're going to search from beginning to the end. Currently, I'm on the beginning, so that's fine. We'll go forward. It found fire brick lining in this table, and it says thickness of firebox 10 inches solid brick or 8 inches where fire brick lining is used. Well, that quickly it took me to my answer. let's click next again just to see what happens. Wow, okay. Didn't find it. So let's try just looking for fire brick. And you see fire brick here at firebox walls, and it talks about where a lining of fire brick not less than 2 inches thick is provided. We have to have 8-inch thickness, and where a lining is not provided, the total minimum thickness, and you can see it right here, I'll highlight this text, where a lining is not provided, the total minimum thickness of back and side walls shall be 10 inches of solid masonry. So there's my answer. That's how I found it in the digital copy. Okay? Okay. So our question was about fireplace wall thickness, and this slide just kind of shows a top view of the fireplace. It shows in the kind of yellow color there, the fire brick lining 2 inches thick, and then the red line, that's our kind of exterior wall of the fireplace, a required minimum 8-inch thickness if there's a fire brick. If we don't have the fire brick, which is what our question was about, you have to have a 10-inch thickness. Okay? All right, let's go on to question number 2. And question number 2 says, chimneys shall be provided with crickets where the dimension parallel to the ridge line is greater than blank inches and does not intersect the ridge line. Okay? So, as always, the first thing we need to do is identify the subject of the question. And obviously here, the subject of this question is crickets or chimney crickets. Okay? So, we start in the index. That's the best place to find something. We go to the index. We can look for cricket. I don't know that we will find cricket in the index, and I don't. So let's try chimney, okay? And when I look in the index under chimney, there's 15 or 20 sub-listings. I see caps, clearance, corbelling, crickets, okay? That should be what I want. Chimney crickets are found in R 1003.20. 1003.20. So let's go there and see what we have. 1001, 1003, 1003.4, 0.12, 15, 1003.20 chimney crickets. It says, chimneys shall be provided with crickets where the dimension parallel to the ridge line is greater than 30 inches and does not intersect the ridge line. So bingo, that's where we found our answer. Our answer was in section R 1003.20, and the correct answer is 30 inches. So that's how we found it in the paper edition. We were using the index. Let's slide over to the digital edition and see how it works there. So I'm going to go to the search bar. I'm going to take out my last term. I'm going to type in cricket and hit next, and right away it took us to the section R 1003.20 on crickets, and here's our answer right there. Chimney shall be provided with crickets where the dimension parallel to the ridge line is greater than 30 inches and does not intersect the ridge. Okay? So quickly, we found it in the digital copy just using our search feature. I really like that, and it works well most of the time. Okay, let's go on to question number 3. And question number 3 is, what is the requirement for mortar type when building a smoke chamber and a masonry fireplace? Okay. As always, we have to identify the subject of the question. And this is a little, maybe a little harder to define, but it's about mortar in the smoke chamber. But that might be a little too specific. Let's go to the index and see what we find. We can look up smoke chamber in the index. I'm not sure we'll find anything. I'm looking through. I get to smoke. I see smoke alarms and smoke developed index, but no listing for smoke chamber. Well, we know the smoke chamber is a part of a fireplace. Let's go back and look at fireplace. And under fireplaces, I don't see smoke chamber either. Okay? So this one's getting a little harder. Okay? We could go try the table of contents, but I'm not comfortable that's going to work. This may be a place where you just want to use your familiarity with the code in general. We know a smoke chamber is a part of a fireplace, part of a masonry fireplace specifically. Let's go to that area. We know masonry fireplaces are covered in Chapter 10. Let's go to Chapter 10. And the first section in Chapter 10 is masonry fireplaces. Well, I feel like I'm getting warm. I'm going to scan down through here until I see a heading that says smoke chamber. You see R1001.5 says firebox walls, R1001.6 firebox dimension. I'm just going to keep scanning those headings until I see at R1001.8 smoke chamber. And I'm looking through here to see if I see anything about mortar. All right, I'm scanning through. It says, the inside surface shall be parged smooth with refractory mortar conforming to ASTM C199. So I feel like that's my answer. Refractory mortar conforming to ASTM C199. We found that in the smoke chamber section, R1001.8, and there's our answer. All right, that's how we would find it in the paper copy. Let's go over to the digital copy and see if it's any easier there. So I'm going to start by typing in smoke chamber and see what happens. Okay. And now, because I was already in the code, it's kind of working its way through. It's come to definitions. I'm in Chapter 2. I click Next, and now it's taken me to a section about dimensions. That doesn't look like what I want. I scan that section. I'm not seeing anything about mortar. I'm going to click Next again. It took me to this chart about smoke chamber wall thickness. Not what I want. Click Next again. And it took me to R1001.8 smoke chamber. And right here, I see the text I'm looking for. The inside surface shall be parged smooth with refractory mortar conforming to ASTM C199. Okay, so that's how I found it using my digital copy. That worked fairly well. And again, the digital is nice. Okay, let's move on to question 4. And this one's a little tougher. It says, unlisted combustion air duct shall be installed with a minimum blank inch clearance to combustibles for all parts of the duct within blank feet of the duct outlet. All right. So what is our subject? The subject is basically combustion air for fireplaces. And this may be a little harder to find in the index. Let's go take a look and see. All right, let's look under combustion air. And I see combustion air. It refers me to Chapter 17, which is the general requirements for combustion air. It also refers me to section R202 for definitions. So that doesn't look right. Let's see what we find under fireplaces. And I'm not seeing anything there under fireplaces either. Okay? So let's maybe try the table of contents and see what we find. Let's go to the table of contents. Under Chapter 10, I see 6 sections, and section R1006 is labeled exterior air supply. Okay, so that's probably what I want, R1006. So let's go there. R1006, and I see a heading called clearance. And since clearance is what this is about, we can look it up there. The answer is unlisted combustion air ducts shall be installed with a minimum 1-inch clearance to combustibles for all parts of the duct within 5 feet of the duct outlet. All right. So we found it in R1006.3, and the correct answer is 1 inch and 5 feet. That one was a little tougher. Let's go over to the digital copy and see if it's any easier over there. Okay, so what are we going to search for? We could search for fireplace combustion air, see if anything happens. Nope, this box right here is telling us no matches were found. We click on OK. I guess we could try fireplace combustion. Same thing, nothing found. How about, let's try fireplace air. See if we get anything. No. Let's try air supply. And finally, we ended up at section R1006, exterior air supply, and we come right down to this heading here, clearance, and there's our answer. Okay? So still not the most direct thing, but again, you've got to think about your subject and what are likely terms related to the subject of the question. All right. Question 5 is fireplace stoves shall be tested and listed in accordance with blank UL standard. Okay. So the subject is either fireplace stove or UL standards. Okay. So there's a couple of things we could do. We could start in our index and look up fireplace stove, see if that gets us anywhere. And it doesn't. We could possibly look under stove. Let's see what that gets us. And under stoves, I see factory built fireplace. Okay. And it points us to section M1414. So let's go there. M1414. Point 1, general. Fireplace stove shall be listed, labeled, and installed in accordance with the terms of the listing. Fireplace stove shall be tested in accordance with UL 737. So there's our answer. Okay? There's another way we could do that. We know that somewhere in the back there's a section on UL standards, and we could just scan that list. I have a tab for UL standards. I scan down through the list looking for fireplace stoves, and I find fireplace stoves UL 737. So that's another way we could have done it. Okay. Let's go over to our digital copy and see how it works. I would think it would be fairly smooth this time. We're going to type in fireplace stove, click next, and it took us directly to M1414, and there's our answer, UL 737. So again, the digital lookup feature worked pretty well for us. Okay. We have one final question we want to do. Question number 6 says combustibles around the fireplace shall be not less than blank inches from the front faces and sides and not less than blank from the back faces of a masonry fireplace. So our subject is fireplace clearance. Okay, so let's start in the index under fireplace. And under fireplace, the first entry I see is clearance. And it tells me to go to R1001.11. R1001.11. 1001, 5, 6, 8, 11. Fireplace clearance. Wood beams, joist studs, and other combustibles shall have a clearance of not less than 2 inches from the front faces and sides and not less than 4 inches from the back faces and sides. So 2-inch front and sides, 4-inch back. And so the index worked pretty well using the print copy. Let's go over to our digital copy and see how that looks. We want to know fireplace clearance. Click next. And it took me directly to R1001.11. And it says wood beams, joists, studs, and other combustibles shall have a clearance. Go back up to the top of the column. 2 inches. Come on. 2 inches from the front faces and 4 inches from the back. So there's our answer. digital lookup found it pretty quickly for us. Okay? So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about combustibles around the fireplace. Here's our top view. We've got the fire brick, then the outside row of brick, and then the black border, that's the combustible wall, and then you see the actual stud framing inside there. So on the sides and the front, we have to have 2-inch clearance to those combustibles, and on the back, we have to have 4-inch clearance to the combustibles. And that's because that back wall just gets a lot hotter. All of the heat in the fireplace is concentrated there, and it gets hotter. So the clearance is required to be 4 inches, where only 2 on the sides. So that's been an overview of how to do the questions, how to look them up using both the paper copy and the digital copy. You will need one or the other for the exam. They both work. You just need to be familiar with, the code, the layout of the code, and I think you guys will do well. I hope this has helped you out, and good luck if you're taking that certification exam. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.